In one episode of The Simpsons, young Bart sits down with his family to a meal, and when it's his turn to pray and offer thanks, he says something like this: "Lord, my dad earned all the money to pay for this meal, and my mom worked for hours to cook it. What did you do? Thanks a lot for nothing. Amen." We've forgotten the true meaning of Thanksgiving, I think. Yes, it ushers in Christmas season in America. In other countries, not so much, because they don't always celebrate Thanksgiving on the fourth Thursday of November. It's a great day for parades. It's a chance to celebrate with our family. It's a great day to get that price that you've been waiting for on the TV you've been eyeing since August. Those are all good things, don't get me wrong, but that's not the importance of Thanksgiving. And we desperately need Thanksgiving this year. It's been a rough 3 years. Family stress, missed holidays, political and social hardship and unrest, economic insecurities, restaurants and stores going under because of what we've been through as a country. We need Thanksgiving. We need something to refocus us desperately on what it means to truly be thankful. Thanksgiving, as I thought about the sermon today, implies a couple of things, a few things I thought that really is important for us to raise. Thanksgiving, if it's done right, is a remembrance of past blessings. It's a remembrance, like the Seder meal, of God's faithfulness to the people. It's a remembrance not just to say thank you, but in that thankfulness we gain strength for what lies ahead. You remember from kindergarten and first grade the story of the first Thanksgiving and the people who made it through the first winter and gave thanks to God when over half of them didn't make it. In the Civil War, when Abraham Lincoln made a national holiday from a nation that was ravaged by division and hatred, when families were torn apart, when politics divided friends and families, when a nation was being ripped apart at the seams, Lincoln united us by having a holiday that would remind us that God's faithfulness and blessing would see us through even our most despairing days. Thanksgiving is a recognition of external power too, isn't it? To whom do we give thanks? Who should I thank? I did this on my own, Bart says. My dad paid for it. My mother cooked it. God, what did you do? Not a lot. Sometimes that is our attitude. And Thanksgiving is sort of the antidote to that, I think. It is impossible, and you may not know this because you may not think in these terms, but as a linguist, as someone who teaches language in my other career, it is impossible to thank. I thank. What? It's impossible to thank. You may give thanks, but you can't just thank. Thank as a verb is a verb that necessitates, in German we call that a dative verb. It implies a dative object. You must give thanks to someone or for something. You can't just thank. It's like giving. I give. Well, what do you give? Right? There's an implied object there. Thanks is the same way. Grammatically speaking, thanks has to have an object. Thanksgiving reminds us that we aren't just here by ourselves. Thanksgiving is an antidote for arrogance and pride and individualism. We need other people. If you don't think that human beings need other people, don't ever feed your newborn and see how well they do. We need other people. From the moment we're born, we're dependent on each other. And Thanksgiving reminds us that we need, and this rugged individualism, it's nothing more than arrogance, and it's a fallacy. Thanksgiving reminds us that we didn't get where we were alone or on our own. We didn't do it by pulling ourselves up our own bootstraps. We did it because other people loved us, and a God strengthened us and supported us in our moments of need. And it reminds us that there's also a commitment to the future. Because I've been blessed, Deuteronomy reminds me, I also now need to bless others. Because I was once, my relatives were once wandering Aramaeans, and we were brought into the land of Israel, and we were given a promised place in God's family, made God's beloved. Now I am obliged to extend that grace, forgiveness, and love to others. In a recent comic strip, a son asked his father, "Dad, why do we always have turkey on Thanksgiving?" The father hesitantly said, "Well, it's just tradition, son." The son said, "What's tradition, Dad?" His snarky brother said, "That's what we do when we've done it so long we don't remember why we do it anymore." Sometimes that's what Thanksgiving is. We do it because we've always done it that way. I'll let you know that I love tradition. You know me well enough after 10 years to know that I'm steeped in tradition. My family's the same way. Their mother and I were having a conversation yesterday on the phone, and we were joking about how we can add anything we want to Thanksgiving dinner, but you may not take things away. Have you noticed that? I can add anything. I actually wanted to make like a broccoli casserole instead of that mushy green bean casserole stuff. Oh, you would have thought I was going to offer my firstborn on the altar to Satan. No, Dad, no. You can add whatever you want, but you don't take away the traditions. It wouldn't be Thanksgiving without green bean casserole. It wouldn't be Thanksgiving without certain kinds of food. We're just so steeped in a way of doing it. Today's a day to remind ourselves why we do it and why it's important to us. That it's not just about the meal or the family or the friends. Those are all wonderful things. It's not just about the TV that's on sale again. Not a bad thing. In the movie Sister Act, one of my all-time favorites, Mother Superior, played impeccably by Maggie Smith, takes objection to taking in the sinful lounge singer who is the proud mistress of the mafia boss. The priest in the parish says to her, "But you've made a vow of hospitality to help the needy." Reverend Mother replies, "So I lied." Thanksgiving reminds me that because I didn't do it on my own, because I couldn't always pull myself up by my own bootstraps, others can't either. And it's arrogant and selfish of me to assume they can. A Thanksgiving editorial in a newspaper told of a school teacher who asked her class of first graders to draw a picture of something for which they were thankful this Thanksgiving. She thought of how little children from a poor neighborhood actually might be thankful. She knew that most of them would draw pictures of turkeys, tables of food, pumpkin pies. The teacher was taken aback when Douglas handed in a simply childishly drawn hand. Whose hand? She asked the class what it might be. "I think it's the hand of God who brings us the food," one child said. "I think it's a farmer," said another, "because he grows the turkeys." Finally, while the others were at work, the teacher goes to Douglas's desk and she bends over and she says, "Douglas, what was that hand in your picture?" He said, "It was your hand, teacher." And she recalled that frequently at recess, Douglas would take her hand and she would walk with him when none of the other kids would. She often did that with other kids. But that moment, that gift, Douglas remembered with thanksgiving. We sometimes forget that we are the only hands that God will ever have in this world, don't we? A hand stretched out to the least of these is a hand that reflects a thankful and generous heart. Maya Angelou once said something. She said, "Giving liberates the soul of the believer." Giving, it doesn't bless the receiver. It liberates the soul of the believer. And I think that's true. We don't help others so that they can be saved. We help others so that we might be saved from the greed and the insensitivity and the insincerity that captures and cripples the soul of the ungrateful. We give, we're thankful because it liberates our soul from ungratefulness. And that ungratefulness leads to arrogance, individualism, and selfishness, and it cripples a person, a family, a church, and dare I say, a nation. Thanksgiving takes place when we focus on God and when we share with those in need. True thankfulness is not blessed in prosperity, but it's blessed in God. It's based in God's presence in our life, even in moments of pain and grief. The God who sustains us when everything around us trembles and our feet feel unsteady. Martin Rinker was a minister in the little town of Eilenburg in Germany 350 years ago. He was the son of a poor coppersmith, but somehow he managed to work his way through to an education. Finally, in 1617, he was offered the post of archdeacon in a church in his hometown. A year later, the 30 Years' War broke out. His town was caught right in the middle. In 1637, the plague that swept across the continent hit Eilenburg. People died at the rate of 50 a day in his town. A man called upon to bury most of them was Rinkert himself. In all, over 8,000 people died in 30 years, including Rinkert's own wife. His labors finally came to an end about 11 years later, just 1 year after the conclusion of the war. His ministry spanned 32 years, but all but the first and the last overwhelmed by great conflict that engulfed his town. Tough circumstances in which to be thankful, but Rinkert did. And these are the words he wrote. Now thank we all our God with hearts and hands and voices, who wondrous thing has done, and in whom this world rejoices. Thanksgiving. May it be about an amazing meal. May it be about a fantastic parade and times with those we love. But may it also be a time that reminds us that we didn't do it on our own, and that we are forever indebted and grateful to the gifts that God has given us in ourselves, in the presence of our Creator, and in each other. Amen.